Okay, everyone, it's already 3 p.m., so I guess we can start the webinar. So once again, I'd like to welcome you all to Rise of the Gig Economy, how to source on-demand talent and operate a remote workforce. My name is Ivan from Just Log In, and I'll be your host for today. So before we begin, I'd like to go to a bit of housekeeping notes for everybody's knowledge. Can I have the next slide, please? Right. So this webinar is going to be recorded, and we will be sending it to all registrants through email latest by tomorrow. If you have any questions for any of our speakers, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. This is so that we can manage the questions efficiently, better than using the chat box, because the chat box can get quite filled and your questions may get lost. And also, at the end of the webinar, a slide will pop out. No, not a slide, a feedback form will pop up, and please help us to fill up that feedback form to improve our webinar experience for you. And also you can indicate on the feedback form whether you want to receive the slides. Yes, and we will send them to you also latest by tomorrow. Okay, so moving onwards, I'd like to first introduce our first speaker, Alejandro Kikuchi from Workana, who will be basically explaining how to leverage on the gig economy with on-demand talent, as we are currently, in a state of lockdown and having to manage our business remotely. So Alejandro, on to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan, and hello, everybody. Thank you, first of all, to Ivan and Joao and everybody at Just Login for inviting us to participate in this webinar. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Let me share my screen. All right. In the interest of safeguarding bandwidth, I'm going to stop the video here just in case, so you'll hear my voice, but also you can focus on the slides. As Ivan mentioned, I'll be happy to answer any questions. So of course, use the Q&A box, and I'll be happy to address them. So we'll talk about on-demand talent and why it makes sense and how to make the most of it. So let's start off with a little bit of context, which definitely needs addressing. The current landscape is quite challenging. This is no news, right? But I'm just illustrating, and there are a couple of clips here from media outlets painting a gloomy landscape about the economies of both Malaysia and Singapore because of the pandemic of which, by the way, we are still in the middle of, right? However, even though the landscape is challenging, there's also room for opportunities. This is a quote from a study conducted by Accenture. Basically, there will be winners. We are already seeing winners, and those are those who test and explore all of the associated creative possibilities. And what everybody needs to bear in mind is that anything that can be done virtually will be. And of course, this very webinar is such an example, right? 1 year or 2 years ago, we would have done this as an event with food and beverages on some venue, but now it's a webinar. And lastly, this is Andy Grove. He used to be the CEO for Intel, and he oversaw and conducted Intel throughout a period of massive growth. And there's a great quote by him. He says that bad companies are destroyed by crisis. This is no news. And of course, good companies survive a crisis. However, what's interesting is that a great company can be improved even by a crisis. So this only confirms or stresses out how there's definitely an opportunity amidst this pandemic. Let me know if any of these issues I'm going to mention sound familiar. Let's say, for example, within your company, within your teams, you're getting trouble deploying new features, and there's delays when deploying new features. Or perhaps even worse, there's delays when fixing bugs. Just a few examples, right? Some other teams struggle with the need for an updated user interface because it's out of date, for example. Other kinds of teams perhaps struggle with little engagement on social media, and you post stuff and there's little to no likes or comments, right? Or you have ads running on Google or Facebook, but there's few clicks on them. I'm just mentioning some issues I know out of the conversations we have with many companies. They exist, right? And it's interesting to take a look at them and consider them in a context. So for example, let's take this one, little engagement on social media. In and on itself, this might not seem like a huge thing. However, this has an impact. This issue impacts perhaps your ability to get inbound leads. And that's affecting sales. So in turn, the impact this has is that revenue goals are missed. Now that's definitely a huge impact that everybody's going to feel. Let's take another example, just a second one. New features are delayed. So in and on itself, this might not seem like a great thing. Hey, we were supposed to launch this last month, but we're late. Yeah, all right. But if this is consistent, this could end up meaning that the edge over the competitors is lost, which in turn would mean clients go to the competitors instead of going to you, which means missing revenue goals. So all of these issues, and these are just some examples, of course, but it's worth analyzing the impact of all of these issues, even if on the surface they don't seem to be that big. And not only the impact, but also what happens before, what is causing these issues. So again, taking this example, new features are delayed, which, as we just saw, impacts revenue, for example. What's causing the new features to be delayed? Well, it could be that the team of developers is overworked. All right, and why is that happening? Well, that happens because hiring new developers takes a long time and is expensive. So here we have an issue that's something everybody takes for granted. It's a huge problem, but we all assume that's just the way it is. Hiring developers is something that takes long and is expensive, right? And because it's something everybody takes for granted and like an unavoidable truth, it's often not dealt with. But this, as I was just mentioning, could end up eventually meaning missing revenue goals. And of course, that can be very serious. The issue with hiring is that there's many problems that are there, and if you have to hire people, you endure and go through these issues constantly. But that shouldn't be the way. They should not be the norm. So first of all, for example, the pool of talent. If you're in Singapore, it's limited to Singapore, right? In the traditional way of hiring. And if you're in Malaysia, if you're in KL, you just hire in KL. You can't hire talent in Ipoh or Johor. The costs, right? You need perhaps to post to JobStreet or LinkedIn or pay an agency and spend countless man hours, allocating time from people in your team, probably in HR, to do all of this. That means a ton of costs. And it's also a slow process. Then you need to filter through dozens of CVs, reach out to each candidate, make arrangements for a phone call or an interview, then do those interviews in which most of the candidates are not really qualified. All of this means the traditional way of hiring is quite risky because you have all of these costs and time allocations with really no guarantees. And then to make it worse, employees are very hard to terminate. Now, so what if, right, there was a different solution for all of this? What if all of those problems could go away? Remote talent is definitely one way to go. First of all, there's the issue of quality, right? You could get access to a filtered list of candidates, ensuring you're only seeing top quality candidates. It could be an efficient process, right? Only getting, if you need to fill out one position, you could get a document with 4 profiles already curated, already pre-selected to match what you're looking for. All of this could be done in under 2 weeks. So then from saying, I need to hire someone to do this, from getting that person to join your team, that all of that could be done in under a month. All of this done through a reliable process that, backed by a company and by seasoned recruiters that can understand your cultural nuances as well as the technical needs. And lastly, with lots of scalability. I'm just mentioning an example if you need one person, but if you need 5 engineers to join your team, or 10 customer service representatives, or marketers, or 2 virtual assistants, or people to do data entry, you can also do it. So it can be quite scalable. Other companies already understood this. I have here a few examples of companies that are working with us, with Workana. For example, Malaysia Airlines, they are hiring software engineers with this methodology. UEM at Genta, they are hiring a variety of profiles, but video editors is one of them. The latest project was creating a video for HR, for promoting internally a new initiative. Naluri, this is a smaller company. It doesn't have even 100 employees. It's a tech startup. Because this definitely fits, that's where actually this fits best. And they are hiring web developers. And the CEO for Naluri is a seasoned CEO. He used to be the CEO for iFlix, for example. Reckitt Benckiser, this is the company behind brands such as Dettol and Vanish. Among others, they've been hiring profiles to work on their e-commerce initiatives. And lastly, for example, Unilever, they do hundreds of projects with us every month, but marketers is one great example. It's not only high-level marketers managing complex campaigns, it's also marketers doing basic market research, analyzing what other brands are doing with their social media profiles, for example. So all of these companies, and of course many more, got the gist of how beneficial this model can be. So when faced with these problems with traditional hiring, which, as I just mentioned, are very much real, and we are very much used to them, but that shouldn't be the case. All of these go away when operating, for example, through Workana. When it comes to the pool of talent, with Workana, you can reliably hire and work with people in the whole region. You may want people within Malaysia, for example, and that's okay, but you're no longer tied to the city where your office is in. In terms of costs, there's no upfront, there's no fixed costs. So you're only paying our fees if you actually hire, which of course provides assurances. As I mentioned, all of this process can be very, very quick, depending on the kind of profile, but for many kinds of profiles, we can provide a pre-vetted short list of talent, people who we have already interviewed within just a few days. And all of this means the risks of giving this a try are low or non-existent. You either find amazing talent to work with long-term, or we don't get paid. So it's as win-win as it can get. So, of course, who are we, right? I'm mentioning Workana. So who is it that we are? So I like to think of ourselves, of course, as remote talent experts. We've been doing this for almost 9 years now. In May, it's going to be 9 years. We are from Latin America originally. We are market leaders in Latin America. I am from Argentina, by the way. And we've been operating here in Southeast Asia for 2 years now. Right now, I'm in Kuala Lumpur, not in our office, of course, so I'm at home. But we do have an office here. It's just that we're not going now. So yeah, we've been operating here for 2 years. And Seek, an Australian public company, they're the owners of JobStreet, for example. They are our main investors. And we talk the talk and we also walk the walk. We are remote first ourselves. Of course, now during the pandemic, both here and in Latin America, we are fully remote. But even before the pandemic, half of our team would be completely remote, even management positions. we've been experiencing with working remotely and relying on this kind of talent for almost 9 years now, both ourselves and with our clients. So in a nutshell, what we do is we help companies integrate remote talent to their teams. Of course, Just Logging does the same from a different point of view, and it's quite complementary, right? Which is why, of course, we're doing this together. So lastly, the future of work, that's what we've been talking about since 2012, over the past year became the current reality of work. It's remote, right? I cannot stress this enough. Right now, everybody's at home attending this. I'm at home doing this, and we'll be still be working from home for some time. There's fewer resources available, right? Budgets are small. Many companies had to do some retrenching, some furloughs. So there's fewer resources, but you still need to get a lot of things done, basically. Speed is more important than ever, right? Because many competitors are arising or moving fast. All of this means that innovation is a must. Largely speaking, there's 3 reasons why a company innovates. A company might want to innovate because they are developing a new business model. A company might want to innovate in order to grow. Or lastly, a company might want to innovate to survive, which is, of course, became more of an issue now during the pandemic, sadly. Whatever the reason you're finding yourselves in, innovation is a must and is a way of surviving or growing or developing a new business model. And embracing this new way of work is a way of innovating and getting the most of this situation. Thank you very much. You have my contact information right here in case you want to connect on LinkedIn, send me an email or a WhatsApp message. But of course, do please stay. We have a great presentation by our friends from Just Login, and I insist I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing my screen now, all right?
Okay, thank you, Alejandro, for that wonderful presentation. So yes, there you go, another happy face. Yeah, so as we move on, like now, so we have ideas on how to source basically on-demand talent, but there's also the question of how to manage a remote workforce whenever. And now we have our CEO, Chan Chu Hao, to give you some tips and practices on the best ways of doing that. So Chu Hao.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our little webinar. Hopefully you can share something of interest to everyone today. Okay, let's start by, let's talk a little bit more about what's happening now. Maybe next. So I think the point is that everyone is now approaching a phase whereby the question on everybody's mind is, what's going to happen after this COVID is over, right? I think everyone, it's kind of like at this stage where I can't wait till COVID is over. I can get out of our lives. KL, Singapore, we're all just going through this huge uncertainty. But what's going to happen after COVID? I think the point here is that after COVID, a lot of companies have really built out the infrastructure for this new work environment, this remote location environment. It's not going to be the same anymore. It's not going to be the case whereby companies in the past only have one mode of working. High-tech companies have been adopting this for a long time. I'll say now that mainstream businesses will start adopting this. Maybe not 100%, but I'll say 50% of the company will start changing. I'll say a lot of the workplace will be different now. The expectations will be different. Employees will start asking to you, it's like, what can I do? Can you provide work from home environment because I feel safer, because I have built up this huge, nice little infrastructure. I've gotten used to it. Other companies will also look, during this time, we actually did not lose any productivity. We actually were more productive. Why don't we just implement work from home? I don't need to pay office rent. All this thinking will be both on the employer side and employee side. So I would say that in 2021 and beyond, the new workplace will no longer be the same. Now let's take a look at what will be this new workplace. What will it look like, right? So this new, first of all, you gotta understand that this new workplace will be accommodating a new kind of workforce, right? This new work environment would be very different from what our forefathers used to be experienced with, right? So the first thing that you'll notice is that your companies will start being your workforce will be more dispersed. All right. So you'll have some team members maybe in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, different parts of the world even. You'll be managing a virtual team. Everybody will be telecommunicating as much as possible. And on top of that, your work infrastructure now has to support two type of work environment. One will be gig workers, part-time workers, workers who maybe come through all sorts of gig environment like the Grab, through or part-time work, and you have permanent staff as well. So first thing is that you got a very dispersed workforce. Second thing is that this dispersed workforce would be both a mix between part-time workers and permanent workers. And last thing is that realize that these generation new workforce is coming in, they're all what they call the millennials. These are the person who have grown up with the internet and they are more tech savvy. They're no longer deal with the fact that they're not cumbered by the fact that they need to be a physical location sending in paperwork. They're used to everything to be online, right? So what does all these factors combine together? What's it going to cost to you, right? Some of the key challenges that you can see going forward. Next. On top of that, you being an SME, you will have all these challenges coming at you. First of all, with all these new gig workforce, part-time workers, distant worker, you're gonna have a problem with having good workforce visibility. You won't be able to see what they're doing all the time. You can't be in the past where you see a factory floor, everybody's working or not working. Whether people are taking breaks, coffee breaks, smoke breaks, you name it. You cannot see that anymore. And the other thing will be SMEs, because of everyone is so dispersed, and if infrastructure is not catered for it, you have a lot more admin work. You need to like update their movement, update their calendars. There's a lot more admin work to cater for. Third thing will be compliance risk, because data sets so dispersed, you will have a lot of issues with compliance. If you're not making sure that your payroll is done correctly, maybe this person nationality, you're hiring them out of another country, they have a different taxation. So you have to consider all these cases. Last thing will be your employees will also demand you to make sure that you have a good employee experience. Are you able to provide them with the same kind of infrastructure or human resource HR benefits that you have? You'll be able to do that with free lunches. You can't do free lunch anymore. So all these challenges will start to come in with this new workforce environment. Next. So let's take a look at point number one, poor workforce visibility, right? Now that this is based on a survey by E&Y, probably more international surveys. Most of the workforce do not want to return to the office full time. Now they've experienced this remote working location. 88%, that's a very significant number. So I would say that, for example, within my company, a lot of employees are saying, give us feedback. We kind of like working from home. And when we gave people the option to work from office, I think only a handful of people turn up at work. So that is going to be the new norm, right? So you will need more information on what this work, what your team members are actually doing. Next. Second thing is that because of the fact that your processes are all scattered now, you have to find ways to automate your tasks. Right? HR managers spend a lot of their time actually dealing with all these manual processes. I would say 60%. You find that you probably need a bigger HR team if your processes are not automated. So that would be a huge challenge for your organization if you did not digitize early. Okay, next. Next thing is there's also a risk for you, right? For example, if your employees in Singapore and in Malaysia, you need to pay different social benefit rates, right? Social security rates, social security compliance. If your systems are not compliant, your HR in Malaysia will not understand the HR systems in Singapore and the regulations in Singapore. If there are any changes in the regulations, if your system outdated, then you have a challenge, and you could potentially get fined, right? I mean, that's such an unnecessary risk to the business. So when you come, this is just a tip of the iceberg, and therefore, as you go into more countries, you have a more dispersed workforce, How do you keep your company more compliant as you expand overseas? That's also a challenge. Next. And the thing is, employees will also feel that if you don't, now that everyone's so remote, maybe there's a risk of decreased performance because you can't see them, they don't know what they're doing. It's like, boss is at work, he's in KL, I'm here in Johor, I'm here in Singapore, I can fool the system. That's what employees are worried about. And it's a true worry. But the thing is that you can actually find ways to motivate them, find ways to track their patterns. So that way, give them something that they're familiar with, right? A mobile device to keep track of all this. So that way they will be able to still be productive and be happy at work. And employees will still feel assured that they're actually working. So that is something that employees have to look. You're able to invest in the well-being of the employees without really being physically there. That is something you have to consider. All right, thanks. So with all these move towards this gig economy, this new age economy, this new remote location kind of situation, your mobile apps, your devices, your infrastructure need to support this new economy. So when it comes to this new economy, there'll be ways to track these people, track employees through geolocation, through time tracking, and even to measure productivity with their pay, so that way you know that I'm paying you for real work that you're doing. Okay, not because you're physically there, not because you're able to clock in, clock out, but I'm actually paying you for the time that you spend on the keyboard, for example, for the time that you spend driving, and therefore you can actually tie performance to rewards properly. So these are the things that is required with the new economy. Look at Grab, right? Drivers, the more you drive, the more mileage you click, the more you get paid. So these are some thinking that you have to look. How do you make employees more productive by tying the performance and the productivity to the pay? And this is something needs to be considered as you invest in this new kind of economy. And we are moving there as we speak. Thanks. So for employees, and you will see that a lot of them will want to embrace this remote working experience because it gives them a much more flexible schedule, right? Now the cost of living is going up. It's not exactly the same as before, where you can probably have a lot of helpers, but nowadays it's like you only get help raising a child, raising a family. It's no longer going to be a very simple endeavor. You probably need everybody around to you need to be physically there to deal with all this situation. And because people are moving around, they no longer have a huge support network like they have in kampong days, right, where I can have my neighbor to help look after my kids. I might be moved to a new country, I might not know my neighbors, I might not trust my neighbors. So these are the things that will start coming into play. And being a remote employee, they will have to consider all these things. It gives them flexibility. It gives them the fact that they don't need to spend 2 hours in traffic, for example, in KL, or during peak hours, you spend an hour in traffic to and fro, which you can translate to time that they can probably spend doing the errands they need to do or working for your company, being productive. So these are all thinking that you can consider. Okay, next. So, however, as you do that, there's always this challenge of remote workforce. Okay, as an employee being a remote team, you also have these challenges. There are always distractions at home. You start losing face-to-face meetings, and you will not have a good visibility of a team. So, how do you deal with that? Right? Let's take a look at one issue at a time. First thing will be distractions at home, right? Distractions at home, look at this picture, it's a perfect example. I have the same challenge every day. My daughter will come in, she'll jump around, she'll distract me, pulling me away from meetings, and help with homework. This will be exactly what needs to be done. So what can you do about it? Next. Maybe working from home with children, you might want to consider a few things, like take turns with your spouse to look after the children, right? Maybe occupy your children with more than just TV. Give them you to consider the fact that maybe let them play with neighbors' kids, arrange lessons for them, extracurricular lessons for them outside of school, or maybe coloring, play Lego toys and stuff. I think parents will try all sorts of things just to occupy the kids. Take advantage of nap time for them to work. So this needs to carry the flexibility. When they're taking a nap, you're able to focus. So the kind of flexibility is no longer the same as before, where you need to keep track of the time. You need to give the flexibility to the employees to let them manage their time. The other possibility is wake up earlier than the day, and even before maybe the offices are open, they can start doing more work before everybody else wakes up. So these are a few ideas that we can consider when you're working with children at home. Next. Most important thing in my experience, in my personal experience as well, researching around, first thing is that you must have a good home setup, right? Now that we have Malaysian MCO, you must have a good corner in the home setup cleanly with a proper computer setup, noise cancelling earphones, second or bigger monitor to manage all your work. So that way it's a go-to place. Psychologically, you're prepared to move into that new desk to start working. So you don't, even though you're away from the office, you're still able to feel like you're productive and you're able to get things done. Next. So next challenge we do talk about is face-to-face meetings. Now, face-to-face meetings is a very important aspect of business. You notice that 55% of the face-to-face communication is actually through body language. So it's done through body language. A lot of things that people don't tell you, you can actually see it through their body language. If they're uncomfortable with something, they start shifting around. These will all be lost if it's all virtual meeting. So that's the challenge. So how do you compensate for the fact that most of the time you can't even see the body's movement, you can't see the person online? Which brings me to the next thing is that you need to invest in a proper telecommunication tool or a chat tool, right? And allows you to have a video input. So you can try to capture as much as possible if signs and communication cues that you would not have seen with just pure voice calls. So I think by now everyone's familiar. Either you use Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Skype, you name it, Google Hangouts, anything just to get the face-to-face, especially when you have a remote team. Turning on video when you're doing video conferencing is actually quite important, and then make sure that your team is focused on what you're trying to say, so you don't lose that touch as what you have in a face-to-face meeting. Next. Some of the organizational team things that I tend to find that during this COVID situation, especially in the remote location, you tend to do well, is that we do this 15-minute scrum calls with the team, right? So we'll make sure everybody dials in exactly at 9 a.m. every morning, the whole team included, just to talk about. There's no need to report. I mean, there's no need to go into details, but just to talk about what did they do yesterday, what did they plan to do today, any issues to discuss separately from these calls. So that way, that sets a tone. By 9 a.m., everyone's ready, everyone dials in, especially now with Zoom, with Teams. It's very easy to do it. There's always a recurring event. You can just click on the link and straight away you can actually attend the Scrum call immediately and just get everybody updated. This provides a little more momentum for your organization. So even though you're not physically together, you still feel like there's a connection every day with the rest of the teammates. The other thing that now everyone's more advanced, everyone's more flexible timing, you need to think about how to arrange meetings in advance. You need to think about how to make calls in advance, pre-plan agenda, try to keep your meetings with 30 minutes block so it's easier for people to plan, schedule them a couple of hours in advance. Use a scheduling app like Calendly so that people can book your calendars without you having to go, hey, can you do this call at 3 p.m. No, 4 p.m. Maybe I can do 5. There's back and forth. Do all these scheduling apps so you can save all this coordination effort, or expose your calendar to everyone else in the team so they can see exactly when you're available and book those slots accordingly. So these are all tips that you need to start embracing, and skills and organization and practices and organization that companies that they need to do, and the culture that needs to be spread to your team so that to make you guys work better, especially during work from home situation. Next. So when it comes to visibility of the workforce, I think we have a few solutions that you might want to consider. Next. First of all, in Just Login, we actually have a leave tracking, right? So you can take leave even though you're on a work from home arrangement or your your remote location. You can still kind of apply for leave through a mobile app or through a web app, and then you can see who else is on leave for that particular day. A cloud-based system like ours will be able to give you real-time visibility of the whole company and the staff movement. This is probably this is extremely necessary, that especially in this kind of arrangement where everyone, you can't see where everyone is, right? Next. And to couple with the fact that you need to enhance your employee experience, all these can actually be done on a mobile app. So you can apply leave on a mobile app. You can have take a look at your leave pending days, company leave level, all through a mobile device. And with this mobile device, you can do a lot more than just leave application, payroll, etc. It's all available on a mobile device. I'll take a look at next. So for example, in this case, you can create a custom leave type, just to show that exactly, maybe you got a new kind of leave policy, or maybe a stay-home notice that you receive from the government. You can also do that. Next. So with all these stay from a remote working location, time tracking also becomes very important. All right, so these are some tools that you might consider. Toggl, Hubstaff. We use Hubstaff internally, keep track of whether the person is productive at work, especially with our remote employees overseas. We want to make sure that, hey, we want to make sure the activity level is high. You are constantly working on your desk. You're actually monitoring productivity. So that way, these are some time tracking tools that you can use for your employees, so they don't abuse the fact that they're working from home. Next. And for us, we have a just clock that allows you to make sure, at least when you're clocking and clock out of work, we can provide a GPS or Google Maps location and map overlay to show where your employees actually clock in and clock out. So if they have mentioned that they are actually working from home, then yes, the mobile device will be able to clock them in and show that they're actually working from home and not somewhere else, right? These are all possible. And with that, you can also keep track of things like roster scheduling, especially if you have different people coming to work at different times. You can schedule these things on a mobile device, so they do not need to call head office to find out what's the next schedule that they're supposed to turn up for work. Thanks. So similarly, all this is available on a mobile app. And for the mobile app, you can do AI recognition just to make sure that the employee clocking in is the same person clocking out, right? It was a genuine employee. It allows to do geofencing, so you can limit the person, say, hey, you must be clocking in within your home. And you can put the address in there so that they only clock in within a certain area, right? So these are available to you today, now, and you can actually implement this within your organization in a matter of days. You do not need to install any servers or a cloud-based system. Next. So to sum it up, the new way for dealing with all these gig economy workers, part-time workers, work from home arrangement is that you probably need to consider putting HR in your pocket, right? With a mobile app itself, you will be able to access all your pay slips as well, clock in, clock out, do your expense claim all from the mobile device without actually having to go back to the office to submit any paper documents. Next. Now let's take a look at the video, what this whole experience will be like for your employees. So now that you've seen all this, it's like, I think especially everyone here in the audience, other business owners or someone in management or considering some changes within the office, is that you can't resist this. You can't resist this trend that's happening right now. People are going to start asking for more work from home arrangements. But so the main thing is to embrace this, right? And if you look at the benefits of working from home, there are actually quite a number of them. I mean, think about it. First of all, for most company employees, they will save at least 1 or 2 hours of transport every day. 2 hours of transport every day over a week, it's at least 10 hours. Over a month, that's 40 hours. And if you think about it, how many hours we work in the office, that's 8 hours. That's one whole week of productivity lost in transportation, especially in the previous arrangement where everyone works in the office, which could be saved out for them, for employees to be more productive, right? You think about it. If you give them a proper environment set up, you save 2 hours at a time every day. That's almost one whole week of work hours that they can actually save up. That's significant. Something they can spend more time with family. You end up you have happier employees as well, right? Second thing is lunchtime is significantly shorter, and so are toilet breaks if you think about it. You know, some offices the toilets or their lunch is pretty far away. How many employees go off on 1 hour, 2 hour lunches? Simply because just getting lunch is quite a hassle. They go out there, they walk half an hour, 20 minutes to a new location, wait for their food, order their food and so forth. The whole affair is actually 1-2 hours. So think about it. With this working from home arrangement, lunch could be shortened to only 15-20 minutes. All right. And the fact is that with less socializing, employees can actually focus on what they need to do. So I was thinking that companies need to look into embracing work from home arrangement. It may not be 100% arrangement, but at least make it a significant part of the employees' work life. And I'm sure from this arrangement, you will get happier and more productive employees. Okay, next. However, in the event that you do need employees to come back to work, you think about it, the new world will be also different. You need to, after COVID, people will start thinking about how to get to work. People don't want to use, sensors anymore. So we have come up with an app called Safe Clock. Okay, that allows you to actually provide door access, provide a clock in, clock out mechanism, or on a tablet device. Now let's take a look at how this thing works, and if as well temperature scanning. Next.
SafeClock is an all-in-one contactless temperature scanner, door access, and employee attendance solution to help you transition your employees back to the workplace safely. Employees can clock in and out of work daily via facial recognition. The timings and temperatures are automatically captured in a split second and sent into your online portal in real time. The device detects high temperatures and will send administrators an alert via email or push notification if any employee is running a fever. SafeClock can also protect your workplace by acting as a door access. You can configure access based on registered faces, body temperature, and even detection of masks. Unregistered visitors will still have their photo, temperature, and time of entry recorded in your online portal for contact tracing purposes. It is easy to register employees on SafeClock. Simply tag the unregistered user photo to an employee. Employees' clock timing on the device will be reflected in attendance reports to track working hours and overtime. Create multiple shifts easily to manage staggered hours or split shifts. SafeClock is also integrated back to JustLogin's full suite of HR applications, allowing you to seamlessly manage employee payroll, leave, attendance, and expenses, even when you work from home.
In Singapore, you can also integrate your work premises safe entry into SafeClock. Automatically check into safe entry when you walk through the door.
Clock in to work safely with SafeClock by JustLogin.
I hope that gives you an idea of what's possible now that everyone's going back to work. You know, you want to avoid people, especially a contactless situation where you're trying to avoid touching passes or fingerprint devices. Such a device will allow you to clock in, open a door, to provide door access, and even email notification for temperature scanning all in one device. So this will be the device that you see in all the shopping centers now, and be a device that you see in door access going forward. Next. So I think we're just going to do a random poll on a team. Anybody for the audience, would you be interested to find out more about solutions to help manage your workforce? So if yes, feel free to let us know, and we will reach out accordingly to assist you in that discovery. Okay, so if you enjoyed today's webinar, just so that everyone's aware, we have been working with many different partners over the last year, especially the start of COVID, and we started this webinar series. Well, different partners contributing different topics that's interesting that you might want to read about or want to find out more. We have recorded sessions from the past that you can feel free to go into those sessions and listen to what other speakers have talked about in the past. So it will be it's accessible via justlogin.com business continuity, and then you can go in and look at our past recordings. All right. So more information, if you need more information from us, feel free to email us or give us a buzz at these numbers, and our team will be more than happy to assist you further.
Okay, thank you, Shu Hao, for that wonderful presentation, as well as insight how to manage a remote workforce. So yeah, please feel free to contact us and also to fill up the feedback form after leaving the webinar if you would like to receive the slides. So I guess we can move on to a Q&A session now. Would the panelists like to share their video? We actually have
Yeah.
we actually have one very
I have an interesting question. So I got Willin question. Do you think that the gig economy will future work, or is this a transition? I would say that this is definitely here to stay. We within our company itself, we have seen its benefits. In fact, last year, we actually felt that our productives were actually more engaged and more productive. We were actually busier than in the past, and we were able to operate our business without being physically in the office. So having seen those benefits, I think the point is that within our management team itself, we're thinking how to make this a little bit more permanent setup within our organization. And if us being a small company, we have about 70 people. I mean, I can imagine the benefits for even a smaller company or even a much bigger company, they will be thinking the same thing. So yeah.
If I may add to that one, on one hand, this is something we at Workana are always analyzing. There's a few studies that are quite interesting. One example, for example, is that in the US, workers in the gig economy are growing at a rate that is 3 times faster than the actual workforce. So that means that many people are shifting from the traditional employment to the gig economy. And that's an example in one country, but similar trends can be seen everywhere. And we are seeing this also firsthand ourselves with our clients. We have many medium-sized businesses choosing to go this way instead of building the traditional teams in the traditional way. And now we are seeing they are always more of latecomers to the game, but not only mid-sized companies, but also, as mentioned, big players such as Unilever. Unilever has an official program worldwide to on discussing how to best on tackling the gig economy, and they are increasingly year after year making the most of it. So there's all sorts of trends, and lastly, there's one that's also unavoidable. By 2025, that's just 4 years from now, right? 70%, 75%, 3 out of 4 people in the workforce are going to be millennials. So even from a demographic point of view, there seems to be a match between the gig economy and the kind of people actually in the workforce. So in my point of view, I agree with you, Chow. This is definitely not just temporary, but rather a steady trend.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight. Chu Hao, you wanted to?
No, I'm just saying that the more reason I think that this will be more likely than ever is simply because of the internet and how nowadays the global world is no longer based on you don't set up a business to be just within service your neighborhood. You set up business nowadays, you're actually servicing the world. And you can actually have employees, they're MNCs on day one. And many friends or business owners that I met who was like, within the first month of starting, they have 3 employees in Philippines, 1 employee in Russia, maybe a salesperson in the US or India. It's happening as we speak. So I will say that it's going to happen at a much faster pace going forward.
Okay, we have another, I would say, rebuttal from Willen Ng. He says that, thank you for the answers. However, I realize in the Asian context, the gig economy is generally not well received due to social stigma tagged to low salaries and indirectly linked to drivers, and also the lack of benefits tagged to it. Do you think that the government is doing enough to embrace the rise of the gig economy?
I don't know, Alejandro, you have something to say first?
Please go ahead. I can
Okay.
add later.
For me, I think the point is that when you define the Asian context, it's more we're thinking more personal. Like if you just imagine I'm a gig worker. What does that mean? They all think I'm a Grab driver or a Grab deliverer. But that's no longer the case. If you look around, a lot of people nowadays, everyone's in some way or the other somewhat of a gig economy, right? For example, you got freelance consultants, you got freelance virtual assistants coming out of Philippines. You have all these. You go to upwork.com, upwork.com. You have software engineers who are perpetually on gig economy. They will go out there. For example, some of our engineering work is done through gig players, maybe out of Russia, building part of our software. And these people are not paid. They're paid by maybe $20, $50 an hour. They make more money out of the gig economy than they do as a permanent job. So I would say that the reason why people tend to associate with it in context is probably they don't see the bigger pictures, what's happening internationally. But if you look deeper, the gig economy is actually very vibrant and growing. Over to you, Alejandro.
I agree. The gig economy is definitely not just the Grab drivers, even though that's also growing. Besides Upwork, do try Workana, which is a far more localized version, but it's of course our company. That's precisely a great example. What we see in our platform is the software engineers, the digital marketers, very highly skilled professionals making a steady income and choosing that way of life. There's also the data entry of virtual assistants. Some of the examples I mentioned, like Malaysia Airlines or UEM Magenta, right? These are companies quite traditional. One flies airplanes and the other one manages highways, for example, and clinics. These are not the latest tech, artificial intelligence powered industries, but rather very traditional that realized overcoming this social stigma, realize the power in working with the gig economy and hiring precisely those kinds of profiles that are in high demand, harder to get. In part, they are harder to get because such profiles do not want to be tied 9 to 5 to a single employer, but rather be able to work on different projects, which is precisely what the gig economy enables. And lastly, about government, the budget for 2020 already included a big portion of it allocated to gig economy in general, which of course includes the Grab drivers, but also for the highly skilled portion of the gig economy. And then again, for the budget, I'm talking about Malaysia. Then again, for the budget for this year, I believe it's an even bigger chunk allocated to that, both in terms of enhancing the way that happens and the promotion of that, and the training required, and facilitating the access to the benefits, which is of course always a concern.
Thank you. Yes, of course. But of course, like one of our attendees just chipped in here that before she was a gig worker, and it was true, we are paid higher because we don't enjoy employee benefits, but we get to choose what we want to do, and the flexibility is great. So yeah, I guess like we're actually breaking new ground here in this kind of post-pandemic world where everybody now has to rely on the gig economy to basically supplement their employment, their unemployment gaps in between during this global recession. But yes, of course, if you're looking for freelance work, please do consider Workana. Everything else, yeah. Is there any more questions do we have for the panel? I guess if that's everything, and then we can just end this session. All right. I'm assuming there's no more questions. So, okay, I want to thank the panel again for their wonderful insight and tips and practices on how we can better manage our business during this time of crisis. And also, I would like to reiterate that please fill out the feedback form if you'd like to receive the slides, and also to help improve our future webinar experiences. And also, just another word of advice, please do stay at home and restrict unnecessary travel, because we do not want to prolong this pandemic any further as well. So thank you once again, and I hope to see you for our next webinar.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you
everyone
for participating. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.